The exile. The gleaming spires of New Geneva stretched towards the stars, a testament to humanity's resilience in the face of galactic politics. Within the United Earth Embassy, Ambassador Elena Reyes stood before the Galactic Council, her posture rigid and her eyes defiant. The chamber hummed with tension as representatives from a dozen alien species watched the proceedings with varying degrees of interest and disdain. Ambassador Reyes, the Zaxxilor representative's telepathic voice reverberated through the room, its gelatinous form pulsating with barely concealed irritation. Your species continues to push for greater representation and rights within the Galactic Confederation. We find your persistence troubling. Elena took a deep breath, steeling herself. Counselors, humanity has proven time and again our worth as members of this esteemed body. We seek only fair treatment and the opportunity to contribute more fully to our shared future. A ripple of discomfort passed through the assembled aliens. The Varangian delegate, a towering insectoid, clicked its mandibles in disagreement. Your kind is young, impulsive. You lack the wisdom of ages that guides our decisions. With all due respect, Elena countered, her voice firm, our youth brings fresh perspectives and innovation. We've already contributed groundbreaking advancements in terraforming and renewable energy. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien voices and thought projections. Elena stood her ground, knowing that this moment could define humanity's place in the galaxy for generations to come. As the noise subsided, the Arch-Mediator, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate vessel, spoke. It seems we are at an impasse. The Arch-Mediator's voice resonated with ancient authority. Perhaps a demonstration of humanity's capabilities is in order. Ambassador Reyes, we have a proposition. Elena's heart raced, but she kept her expression neutral. I'm listening, Arch-Mediator. There is a world on the fringes of known space. Nexus 9. It is rich in resources but deemed too dangerous for colonization due to its hostile environment and dangerous native fauna. We propose a mission, a human expedition to survey Nexus 9 and assess its potential for development. The Zaxxilor representative's form rippled with what Elena recognized as smug satisfaction. If your kind can succeed where others have failed, it would certainly bolster your position. Elena's mind raced, analyzing the proposition. It was a trap, that much was clear. The Council was looking for an excuse to sideline humanity, to prove their inferiority. But it was also an opportunity, one they couldn't afford to pass up. We accept, Elena declared, her voice unwavering. The chamber fell silent, many delegates clearly surprised by her quick acceptance. The Arch-Mediator's energy field flickered, a sign of approval or amusement. It was often hard to tell with such an ancient being. Very well, the Arch-Mediator pronounced. You have one standard galactic month to prepare your expedition. Choose your representative wisely, Ambassador. The fate of your species' standing may well rest on their shoulders. As the council adjourned, Elena strode out of the chamber, her mind already whirling with plans. She knew exactly who to send. Someone with the skills to survive and the intellect to understand the true nature of this mission. Dr. Alexei Kuznetsov sat in his lab at the Lunar Research Station, poring over data from the latest exoplanet surveys. The door hissed open, and he looked up to see Ambassador Reyes entering, her face grave. Alexei, she said without preamble, I need you for a mission of utmost importance. He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. I'm listening, Elena. Over the next hour, she laid out the situation. The Council's challenge, the dangers of Nexus 9, and the stakes for humanity's future in the galaxy. Alexei listened intently, his keen mind already formulating strategies and contingencies. It's a death sentence, he said finally, leaning back in his chair. They don't expect whoever goes to come back alive. Elena nodded grimly. That's exactly why it has to be you, Alexei. You're not just a brilliant xenobiologist. You're a survivor. If anyone can make it on Nexus 9 and turn this to our advantage, it's you. Alexei stood, walking to the window that overlooked the stark lunar landscape. He thought of his research, his comfortable life here on Luna. But he also thought of humanity's precarious position in the galaxy, forever on the fringes, forever proving themselves. "When do we leave?" he asked, turning back to Elena with determination in his eyes. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. Alexei underwent intensive physical training, brushing up on survival skills he hadn't used since his early days of fieldwork. He pored over what little data existed on Nexus 9, memorizing atmospheric compositions, gravity estimates, and fragmentary reports of the planet's bizarre ecosystem. The day of departure came all too soon. Alexei stood on the launch pad, the sleek survey ship looming before him. It was small, meant for a team of 5 or 6, not a solo mission, but filled with the most advanced equipment Earth could provide. Elena approached, her face a mask of professional calm, but Alexei could see the worry in her eyes. "Remember," she said quietly, "this is more than just a survey mission. Find a way to survive, find something of value, and show them what humanity is capable of." Alexei nodded, clasping her hand firmly. "I won't let you down, Elena. I won't let humanity down." As he boarded the ship, Alexei felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. The door sealed behind him with a soft hiss, and he made his way to the cockpit. As he strapped himself in, he glanced at the small view screen showing the launch pad. Elena stood there, a solitary figure watching his departure. The engines roared to life, and Alexei felt the push of acceleration as the ship lifted off. As Earth fell away beneath him, he allowed himself one last look at the blue-green jewel of his homeworld. Whatever awaited him on Nexus 9, he would face it with all the skill, intelligence, and determination that humanity could muster. The ship broke free of Earth's atmosphere, and Alexei plotted the course for the long journey to Nexus 9. As the hyperdrive engaged, streaking stars filled his view. He couldn't shake the feeling that this mission would change not just his life, but the course of human history in the galaxy. Little did he know just how right he was. Survival and discovery. The descent through Nexus 9's turbulent atmosphere was unlike anything Alexei had experienced in his years of space travel. The ship bucked and groaned, alarms blaring as the external temperature skyrocketed. Gritting his teeth, Alexei wrestled with the controls, fighting to keep the vessel from breaking apart. "Come on," he muttered, eyes darting between redouts. "Just a little more." With a bone-jarring thud, the ship breached the lower atmosphere. Alexei's eyes widened as he got his first real look at the alien world below. Vast purple forests stretched as far as the eye could see, broken only by winding rivers of what appeared to be silvery liquid. In the distance, mountain ranges with peaks that seemed to scrape the sky loomed ominously. As Alexei searched for a suitable landing site, a massive winged creature suddenly filled his view screen. Its serpentine body was easily the length of his ship, covered in iridescent scales that shimmered in the alien sunlight. With a screech that penetrated even the ship's hull, the creature lashed out with a barbed tail. Alexei banked hard, narrowly avoiding the strike, but the evasive maneuver sent the ship into a tailspin. Alarms blared as the ground rushed up to meet him. With a desperate series of adjustments, Alexei managed to level out just enough to turn the impending crash into a rough, skidding landing. As the ship finally ground to a halt, Alexei sat motionless, heart pounding. He was alive, but stranded on a world that had just tried to kill him within minutes of his arrival. After running a quick self-diagnostic and treating a few minor injuries, Alexei donned his exosuit and cautiously exited the ship. The air was thick and humid, filled with unfamiliar scents. His suit's sensors worked overtime, analyzing the atmosphere and scanning for immediate threats. "Oxygen levels higher than Earth norm," Alexei muttered, recording his observations. "Trace elements unknown. Gravity approximately 1.2 g." He took a cautious step, feeling the extra weight in his movements. A high-pitched trilling sound drew his attention to the purple canopy above. Creatures that looked like a cross between birds and bats flitted between the trees, their wings leaving trails of bioluminescent dust in their wake. Alexei allowed himself a moment of scientific awe. "Remarkable," he breathed. Then, remembering his situation, he shook his head. "Focus, Kuznetsov. Survival first, synodiology later." Over the next few days, Alexei established a base camp near his downed ship. He set up perimeter sensors, rigged solar panels to supplement the ship's damaged power systems, and began the painstaking process of assessing and repairing the damage from the crash. The planet seemed determined to challenge him at every turn. The silvery rivers turned out to be mildly caustic, forcing Alexei to rely on carefully rationed supplies and condensation gathered from the atmosphere. The local flora was a mixture of the benign and the deadly. For every edible fruit or nutritious root, there was a plant that exuded neurotoxins or explosive spores. But it was the fauna that proved most daunting. Alexei found himself constantly on guard against predators that defied his earthly expectations. There were Chainilionic ambush hunters that could blend seamlessly with the purple foliage, pack animals that communicated through subsonic rumbles, and floating gas bags that drifted on the breeze before descending to engulf unwary prey. One evening, as the alien sun dipped below the horizon, and Nexus 9's 3 moons bathed the landscape in an eerie glow, Alexei sat by his campfire, reviewing the day's data. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something crucial. A rustle in the underbrush snapped him to attention. Alexei grabbed his pulse rifle, scanning the tree line. For a moment, all was still. Then, with a bone-chilling roar, a massive creature burst into the clearing. Alexei's breath caught in his throat. The beast before him was like nothing he had ever seen. It stood nearly 3 meters tall at the shoulder, its body a rippling mass of muscle covered in a coat that seemed to shift between deep blue and midnight black. 6 powerful limbs ended in razor-sharp claws, and its elongated head housed multiple sets of eyes that glowed with bioluminescent fury. As the creature advanced, saliva dripping from jutting fangs, Alexei raised his rifle. But even as his finger tightened on the trigger, his scientific mind raced. This wasn't just a predator. It was an apex predator, perfectly adapted to life on Nexus 9. If he could somehow study it, understand it, the decision was made in a split second. Instead of firing, Alexei dove to the side, rolling and coming up with a flare gun. He fired it directly at the creature's face, temporarily blinding it with the intense light. The beast roared in confusion and pain, thrashing about. Alexei used the distraction to scramble up the nearest tree, his heart pounding as he watched the creature below. As its vision cleared, it sniffed the air, searching for its lost prey. For hours, Alexei clung to his precarious perch, observing the apex predator. He noted its behaviors, its sensory capabilities, the way it moved through the alien environment with unparalleled ease. When it finally loped off into the forest, Alexei let out a shaky breath. "Well," he said to himself, "I wanted to study the local fauna. Be careful what you wish for, Kuznetsov." Over the next weeks, Alexei's encounter with the apex predator, which he dubbed the Nexus Alpha, became a turning point. He shifted his focus from mere survival to active study of the creature. He tracked its movements, observed its hunting patterns, and began to piece together its place in the complex ecosystem of Nexus 9. What he discovered amazed him. The Nexus Alpha wasn't just a mindless killing machine. It displayed problem-solving abilities, social behaviors within small family groups, and an almost supernatural attunement to the planet's rhythms. Its bioluminescent markings seemed to play a role in communication, and possibly even in manipulating electrical fields for sensing prey. As Alexei delved deeper into his study, he began to see Nexus 9 through new eyes. The harsh, deadly world was revealing its secrets, showing him the intricate balance that allowed life to thrive in such extreme conditions. And at the center of it all was the Nexus Alpha, a creature that didn't just survive here, but ruled. One night, as Alexei reviewed his findings, a realization struck him. The Galactic Council had sent him here expecting failure, perhaps even death. But what he'd found was beyond their wildest expectations. Nexus 9 wasn't just a death trap. It was a treasure trove of scientific discoveries waiting to be unlocked. With renewed determination, Alexei set out to do more than just survive. He would unravel the secrets of this world, and the key to it all was the very creature that had nearly killed him. As he drifted off to sleep, his mind raced with plans and possibilities. Little did Alexei know that his greatest challenge and his greatest discovery still lay ahead. The dance between observer and observed was about to take an unexpected turn, one that would reshape his understanding not just of Nexus 9, but of the very nature of intelligence in the universe. Unlikely bond. As weeks turned into months, Alexei's understanding of Nexus 9 grew exponentially. His makeshift base camp had evolved into a well-fortified observation post, bristling with sensors and camouflaged against the planet's many dangers. But it was his research on the Nexus Alpha that truly consumed him. One sweltering afternoon, Alexei was tracking a family group of alphas through the dense underbrush. He moved silently, his exosuit's adaptive camouflage blending seamlessly with the surrounding foliage. Suddenly, a distressed roar echoed through the forest, causing Alexei to freeze in his tracks. Cautiously, he made his way towards the sound. What he saw when he reached a small clearing made his breath catch in his throat. One of the younger alphas had become ensnared in a natural trap, a pit filled with the same caustic liquid that flowed through the planet's rivers. The creature thrashed frantically, its bioluminescent markings flashing in clear distress. The adult alphas paced around the pit, clearly agitated but unable to help their trapped offspring. Alexei's mind raced. This was a unique opportunity to observe the alpha's social behavior up close. But as he watched the young creature's struggles grow weaker, he felt an unexpected pang of empathy. Before he could second-guess himself, Alexei was moving. He sprinted towards his camp, the alphas too focused on their trapped young to notice him. Within minutes, he returned, lugging a length of reinforced cable and a portable winch from his salvaged ship supplies. The adult alphas roared in surprise and anger as Alexei burst into the clearing. He held his ground, heart pounding, as the massive creatures advanced. In a desperate gamble, he activated a device on his belt, an experimental sonic emitter he'd been developing based on the alpha's subsonic communication. To his amazement, the adults hesitated, their glowing eyes fixed on him with what seemed like confusion rather than aggression. Taking advantage of their momentary uncertainty, Alexei moved swiftly to the edge of the pit. He secured the cable around a sturdy tree and tossed the other end towards the trapped young alpha. "Come on," he muttered, gesturing frantically at the cable. "You're smarter than any Earth animal. Figure it out." For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, displaying an intelligence that still managed to surprise Alexei, the young alpha grabbed the cable in its powerful jaws. With a mix of the creature's own strength and the assistance of Alexei's winch, they managed to haul it from the pit. As soon as it was free, the young alpha scrambled to its feet, shaking off the caustic liquid. It rejoined its family group, which huddled around it, rumbling and flashing their bioluminescent patterns in what Alexei could only interpret as relief. Alexei stood motionless, scarcely daring to breathe. He was completely exposed, surrounded by creatures that could tear him apart in seconds. But instead of attacking, the alphas regarded him with what seemed like curiosity. The young one he had saved took a tentative step towards him, its multifaceted eyes studying him intently. "Easy there, big fella," Alexei said softly, holding out an open hand in a gesture of peace. To his utter astonishment, the young alpha pressed its massive head against his palm. The touch sent a tingling sensation up Alexei's arm, and he realized the creature was generating a mild electrical field, not unlike the way it communicated with its own kind. That moment marked the beginning of a profound change in Alexei's relationship with Nexus 9 and its apex predators. Over the following weeks, the family group of alphas began to tolerate his presence, allowing him to observe them up close. The young one he had saved, which he named Spark for its particularly vivid bioluminescent displays, seemed especially curious about him. Alexei's research advanced by leaps and bounds. He discovered that the Alpha's intelligence far surpassed his initial estimates. They displayed complex problem-solving skills, used tools, and even engaged in what appeared to be rudimentary symbolic communication through their bioluminescent patterns. But it was Spark that truly amazed him. The young Alpha seemed eager to learn, watching Alexei's every move with keen interest. To Alexei's surprise, Spark began to mimic some of his behaviors, attempting to manipulate simple tools and even trying to replicate some of the sounds Alexei made. One evening, as Alexei sat by his campfire recording the day's observations, Spark approached. The creature had grown significantly in the months since the rescue, now standing taller than Alexei, even on all sixes. But instead of the wariness that had characterized their early interactions, there was now a sense of companionship. Spark settled beside him, its massive form surprisingly gentle. Alexei found himself talking to the creature, explaining his presence on Nexus 9, the challenges facing humanity in the galaxy, and his hopes for what his research here could achieve. "I don't suppose you understand a word I'm saying," Alexei chuckled, reaching out to pat Spark's flank. But as he did, Spark's bioluminescent patterns shifted in a way Alexei had never seen before. The glowing lines and swirls coalesced into shapes that were eerily familiar, crude approximations of the diagrams and symbols Alexei had been using in his work. Alexei's jaw dropped. That's impossible," he whispered. Spark rumbled softly, the sound almost like a purr, and repeated the display. This time, Alexei couldn't deny what he was seeing. Somehow, incredibly, Spark was attempting to communicate with him using his own scientific language. The implications were staggering. Not only were the Nexus Alphas far more intelligent than anyone could have guessed, but they possessed the capacity for interspecies communication on a level that defied conventional understanding. As the alien sun set and Nexus 9's moons rose, casting their ethereal light over the landscape, Alexei felt a profound shift in his worldview. He had come to this planet as an observer, a scientist sent to study a hostile world. But now he realized he had become something more, a bridge between two species, a pioneer on the frontier of interstellar communication. With Spark by his side, Alexei began to see Nexus 9 not as a deadly obstacle to be overcome, but as a new home filled with wonders yet to be discovered. And as he drifted off to sleep that night, his mind racing with the possibilities that lay ahead, he knew that his return to the Galactic Council would bring news that would change everything. Little did he know just how right he was, or how his newfound bond with Spark would be tested in the challenges that lay ahead. The return. A year had passed since Alexei's arrival on Nexus 9, and the planet that had once seemed determined to kill him now felt more like home than anywhere else in the galaxy. His bond with Spark had deepened beyond anything he could have imagined, and together they had unlocked secrets of the alien world that would revolutionize multiple fields of science. As Alexei put the finishing touches on his repaired ship, a bittersweet feeling washed over him. Part of him wanted to stay, to continue exploring this fascinating world with his unlikely companion. But he knew his discoveries were too important to keep to himself. Humanity's future in the galactic community might well depend on what he had learned here. "Well, Spark," Alexei said, turning to the massive creature beside him. "I guess this is it. Time to show the galaxy what Nexus 9 is really all about." Spark's bioluminescent patterns shifted in a complex dance that Alexei had learned to interpret as a mix of understanding and concern. Over the past months, they had developed a form of communication that blended Spark's natural bioluminescence with a simplified version of human scientific notation. It wasn't perfect, but it allowed for a level of interspecies dialogue unprecedented in human history. As Alexei began the pre-flight checks, a mournful rumble from Spark made him pause. He looked at his friend, seeing the intelligence and emotion in those alien eyes. In that moment, Alexei made a decision that would change everything. "You know what?" he said, a smile spreading across his face. "Why tell them when we can show them? How'd you like to see the stars, buddy?" Spark's eyes widened, and its patterns flashed in what Alexei recognized as excitement. It took some creative engineering and a complete reworking of the ship's life support systems, but within a few days, Alexei had managed to modify the vessel to accommodate his much larger companion. As they lifted off from Nexus 9, Alexei felt a mixture of triumph and trepidation. He had no idea how the Galactic Council would react to his return, let alone to the presence of Spark. But he knew that what they had discovered together could change the course of interstellar relations forever. The journey back to Earth was a crash course in interspecies space travel. Alexei found himself constantly amazed by Spark's adaptability and curiosity about the ship and the cosmos beyond. They spent hours in the cockpit, Alexei pointing out stars and galaxies, while Spark's bioluminescent patterns danced with questions and observations. As they approached the Sol system, Alexei sent ahead a coded message to Ambassador Reyes, warning her of his imminent arrival and hinting at the magnitude of his discoveries. He knew they would need her diplomatic skills to navigate the political minefield that lay ahead. The sight of Earth growing larger in the viewscreen filled Alexei with a complex mix of emotions. But a gentle nudge from Spark centered him. Together, they had faced the challenges of Nexus 9. Together, they would face whatever came next. As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, alarms began blaring. Multiple defense satellites locked onto them, and Alexei's comm system lit up with demands for identification. He took a deep breath and opened a channel. "This is Dr. Alexei Kuznetsov, returning from the Nexus 9 expedition," he announced, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Requesting immediate audience with the Galactic Council. And, I've brought a friend." The next few hours were a whirlwind. Their ship was escorted to a high-security landing pad, surrounded by a mix of human military and alien peacekeeping forces. As the ramp lowered, Alexei stepped out first, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "I know this is unexpected," he called out to the tense crowd, "but I assure you, there's no danger. What I've discovered on Nexus 9 will change everything we thought we knew about alien life and intelligence." With a deep breath, he turned and gestured into the ship. "I'd like you to meet Spark." The collective gasp as Spark emerged was audible even over the whine of charged weapons. The Nexus Alpha ducked its head to exit the ship, its massive form dwarfing Alexei and everyone else present. But instead of the violent reaction many clearly expected, Spark settled calmly beside Alexei, its bioluminescent patterns shifting in a soothing display. Ambassador Reyes pushed through the crowd, her eyes wide with a mix of shock and wonder. "Alexei," she breathed, "what have you done?" Before he could answer, a commotion at the edge of the landing pad drew everyone's attention. Members of the Galactic Council were arriving, their faces, or equivalent sensory organs, showing various degrees of surprise, anger, and fascination. The Zaxalor representative's gelatinous form pulsed with agitation. "This is unprecedented," it telepathically projected. "Bringing an unclassified, potentially dangerous life form to Earth without authorization." "With all due respect," Alexei interrupted, his voice firm, "Spark is not a danger. He's a sentient being, with an intelligence that rivals or even surpasses our own in many ways. What I've learned on Nexus 9, what Spark and I have discovered together, will revolutionize our understanding of the galaxy." The arch-mediator floated forward, its energy form flickering with what seemed like intense curiosity. "You claim this creature is sentient, that you can communicate with it." In response, Alexei turned to Spark. "Show them," he said softly. Spark's bioluminescent patterns came alive in a dazzling display. To the amazement of all present, the lights coalesced into recognizable shapes, mathematical equations, astronomical diagrams, and even a crude representation of the Galactic Council chamber itself. The assembled crowd watched in stunned silence as Alexei and Spark demonstrated their unique form of communication, explaining through a combination of words, gestures, and bioluminescent displays the wonders they had uncovered on Nexus 9. As the impromptu presentation concluded, Ambassador Reyes stepped forward, her diplomatic instincts kicking in. "Counselors," she said, her voice ringing with conviction, "what Dr. Kuznetsov has achieved here is nothing short of miraculous. He hasn't just survived Nexus 9. He's unlocked the key to communicating with a highly intelligent species previously unknown to us. This discovery has the potential to reshape our understanding of the galaxy and our place in it." The council members conferred among themselves, their debate a mix of spoken words, telepathic projections, and untranslatable alien sounds. Finally, the arch-mediator addressed Alexei directly. "Dr. Kuznetsov," it intoned, its voice resonating with the weight of eons, "your actions were reckless, potentially endangering this entire planet." Alexei tensed, but the ancient being continued. "However, the magnitude of your discovery cannot be ignored. You and your companion will be given the opportunity to present your findings to the full Galactic Council." As the crowd began to disperse, plans being made for the unprecedented council session to come, Alexei felt a wave of relief wash over him. He placed a hand on Spark's flank, feeling the gentle thrum of energy beneath its skin. "We did it, buddy," he said softly. "This is just the beginning." Spark's patterns flickered in agreement, and together they gazed up at the stars, no longer distant and unreachable, but a frontier of possibility they had only begun to explore. The story of humanity's place in the galaxy was about to be rewritten, all because one man had found an unlikely friend on a world meant to kill him. New paradigm. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with an energy unlike anything in recent memory. Representatives from every member species packed the tiered seats, their attention fixed on the central platform, where Alexei Kuznetsov stood beside his towering companion, Spark. Ambassador Reyes took her place at the podium, her voice steady as she addressed the assembly. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we stand at the threshold of a new era in interstellar relations. Dr. Kuznetsov's expedition to Nexus 9 has yielded discoveries that will reshape our understanding of intelligence, communication, and the very nature of life in our galaxy." As Reyes spoke, holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber, showing footage from Alexei's time on Nexus 9. The assembled aliens watched in rapt attention as scenes of the planet's harsh beauty gave way to recordings of Alexei's interactions with Spark and the other Nexus Alphas. Alexei stepped forward, his heart racing but his voice clear. "What you're seeing is not just an example of an alien ecosystem, but a demonstration of an intelligence that rivals our own. The Nexus Alphas aren't just apex predators. They're ascension species with complex social structures, problem-solving abilities, and a capacity for interspecies communication that defies our previous understanding." He gestured to Spark, who began a dazzling display of bioluminescent communication. The chamber fell silent as complex mathematical equations, star charts, and even abstractions of philosophical concepts played out across Spark's skin. "In the year I spent on Nexus 9, Alexei continued, Spark and I developed a hybrid language that bridges the gap between our species. But more than that, we've opened the door to an entirely new way of looking at alien intelligence." The Zaxalor representative's form rippled with agitation. "This is all very impressive, Dr. Kuznetsov, but it doesn't change the fact that you brought an unclassified, potentially dangerous life form to a populated world without authorization. The risks." Alexei held up a hand, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "I understand your concern, Counselor, but I think Spark can address that better than I can." To the astonishment of the assembly, Spark stepped forward. Its bioluminescent patterns shifted into a complex array that, thanks to the translation software Alexei had developed, was rendered into words on the chamber's holographic displays. "I come in peace," the translation read. "My kind has long watched the stars, wondering if we were alone. Alexei has shown us that the galaxy is full of wonders beyond our imagination. We seek to learn, to share knowledge, and to find our place among you. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, exclamations, and telepathic projections. The Arch-Mediator's energy form pulsed brightly, calling for order. When silence finally fell, the ancient being addressed Alexei and Spark directly. In all my eons, it intoned, "I have never witnessed anything quite like this. Dr. Kuznetsov, you were sent to Nexus 9 as a test of humanity's resolve. You have returned with a discovery that challenges the very foundations of our galactic community." The Varangian delegate clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. "This changes everything. Our protocols for first contact, our understanding of sentience, all must be reevaluated." "Precisely," Alexei said, seizing the moment. "But it's more than that. The Nexus Alphas aren't just another intelligent species. They represent a bridge between biological and technological evolution. Their ability to communicate through bioluminescence and electrical fields could revolutionize our approach to everything from data transmission to space travel." As Alexei and Spark fielded questions from the Council, detailing their discoveries and the potential applications, Ambassador Reyes watched with a growing sense of pride and excitement. This was more than just a diplomatic victory for humanity. It was the dawn of a new age of galactic cooperation. Hours passed, and as the session drew to a close, the Arch-Mediator called for a vote. "We must decide how to proceed in light of these extraordinary circumstances. Shall we embrace this new paradigm, with all its uncertainties and possibilities?" One by one, the Council members cast their votes. Some were enthusiastic, others cautious, but in the end, the result was clear. The Galactic Confederation would officially recognize the Nexus Alphas as a sentient species and begin the process of incorporating them, and their homeworld, into the interstellar community. As the chamber emptied, Alexei found himself surrounded by a mix of human and alien well-wishers. Scientists clamored for details of his research. Diplomats began making plans for official delegations to Nexus 9, and more than a few representatives seemed eager to establish trade relations with the newly discovered species. Ambassador Reyes approached, her eyes shining. "You did it, Alexei. You've changed everything." Alexei smiled, placing a hand on Spark's flank. "We did it," he corrected. "All of us. This is just the beginning." In the days and weeks that followed, the ripple effects of Alexei and Spark's presentation spread across the galaxy. Research teams were assembled to study Nexus 9 and its inhabitants, with Alexei and Spark serving as primary liaisons. The unique biology of the Nexus Alphas led to breakthroughs in fields ranging from medicine to communications technology. But perhaps most profoundly, the discovery forced a fundamental shift in how the galactic community viewed intelligence and sentience. New protocols were established for exploring uncharted worlds, with an emphasis on recognizing and respecting potential forms of alien cognition that might have previously gone unnoticed. Humanity's standing in the Galactic Confederation soared. The success of Alexei's mission and the groundbreaking nature of his discoveries silenced many of the doubters who had questioned humanity's readiness for a larger role in interstellar affairs. As for Alexei and Spark, they became symbols of this new era of exploration and cooperation. They split their time between Earth, Nexus 9, and the stars, serving as ambassadors, researchers, and living proof of the incredible possibilities that lay in reaching across the boundaries of species and worlds. One evening, as they stood on the observation deck of a starship bound for a newly discovered system, Alexei gazed out at the cosmos. Spark's bioluminescent patterns danced with a question. What next? Alexei smiled, his eyes reflecting the starlight. Who knows, my friend? We've only just begun to scratch the surface. Out there, somewhere, are wonders we can't even imagine. And together, we're going to find them. As the ship accelerated into the depths of space, Alexei felt a profound sense of optimism. The galaxy that had once seemed vast and lonely now pulsed with potential. Humanity had not just found its place among the stars. It had helped forge a new understanding of what it meant to be part of the cosmic community. And it had all started with a mission meant to fail, on a world designed to kill, where an unlikely friendship had blossomed and changed the course of galactic history. The adventure, Alexei knew, was only just beginning.